All right, so you ever see like a train just like flying down the tracks?
Yeah.
So especially like around a bend or something, and you're like, whoa,
Oh, yeah.
there's no way that thing's staying on those tracks.
Right.
Like speed has got to be like the #1 factor for derailment.
Hmm.
Well, today we're diving into a technical analysis of train derailment factors.
Okay.
And, we're all about like those surprising aha moments here at the deep dive.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So get ready for a curveball
Uh-huh.
because it may not be speed after all.
Yeah, it's easy to think that speed is this, like, big, obvious thing that's
Right.
going to cause a derailment.
Like a train going too fast, of course, it's going to derail.
Right.
But it's more complicated than that.
It's way more nuanced.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's start with something that seems,
Oh,
I don't know, maybe deceptively simple.
okay.
Wind.
All right.
I mean, we all know
Yeah.
wind can be a drag.
Literally a drag.
Literally, yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh.
But a major derailment risk for trains.
Mm.
Like, I'm already intrigued.
Yeah, it's all about the force.
Okay.
So imagine you've got
Right.
this high-speed train,
Okay.
and it's encountering a strong crosswind.
Right.
You can almost think of that wind as like an invisible hand
Mhm.
that's trying to like shove the train sideways.
Oh, wow.
And at high speeds,
Yeah.
that force is significant enough
Right.
that, yeah, it could push it off the tracks.
Wow. That's kind of scary.
Yeah, and that's why
Amazing.
this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
The French railways.
Yeah.
They've actually implemented speed restrictions on some of their high-speed lines based on,
Okay.
get this, real-time wind data. So they've got this whole system where they're treating the wind as like this dynamic opponent, constantly adjusting the train speeds
Wow.
to make sure everything is safe.
That's fascinating.
It's really cool.
It's like they're playing like a constant game of chess
Totally.
with the wind.
Right.
So, okay, speaking of these surprising factors,
Okay.
what actually happens during a derailment?
Yeah.
Like what causes those wheels to leave the rails?
Yeah, so this document outlines 3 culprits.
Okay.
You've got track shifting.
Yeah.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Then you've got overturning.
Okay.
And then the most common type is actually wheel climbing.
Wheel climbing.
Yeah.
See, now that just sounds counterintuitive
Really?
because I feel like when I think of things going off the rails,
Right.
it's usually associated with speed.
Right. So you would think, right?
Yeah.
High speed.
High-speed things are going to go flying off.
Exactly.
But it's actually the opposite.
It's more common at low speeds,
Wow.
especially under specific conditions.
Okay.
So think about it.
Okay.
You've got a slow-moving train.
Okay.
Maybe it's even empty,
Right.
navigating a sharp curve
Okay.
with a steep bank.
All right.
And to top it all off,
Okay.
the rails are dry.
Meaning less friction.
Exactly. Less friction.
Right.
Now, if a strong lateral force comes into play,
Yeah.
those wheels can actually climb up the rail
Get out of here.
Yeah.
No way.
and cause a derailment.
Wow, that's a real gotcha moment.
Yeah.
It's crazy how these things that seem so small
Right.
can have such a huge impact.
Huge impact. Yeah.
So it's not just how fast the train is going.
Right.
It's the track's geometry,
Yeah.
friction,
Yeah.
even like the weight distribution of the train itself.
It all plays a role.
Wow, okay.
And that actually leads us to a concept that's central to all of this.
Okay.
Transverse resistance.
All right, let's unpack that a little bit.
Okay.
What exactly is transverse resistance?
Okay.
And why should we care?
In the simplest terms,
Okay.
it's the track's ability to resist those sideways forces,
Right.
the ones we've been talking about,
Okay.
that can lead to derailments. So you
Okay.
can almost think about it like a tree standing firm against a strong wind.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. So a deeper root system,
Right.
a wider trunk,
Makes sense.
that means greater resistance, right?
Right.
Similarly, a track's ability to withstand those lateral forces
Yes.
depends on a variety of factors.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like with this tree thing,
Yeah.
a track's roots would be like the sleepers
Exactly.
and the ballast and all that.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
So the type of sleepers used is a major factor.
Okay.
Concrete sleepers,
Okay.
particularly the twin block kind of,
Okay.
they offer way more transverse resistance
Okay.
compared to like the old school timber sleepers.
Right.
And then there's the ballast.
Yeah.
You know, that layer of crushed stone
Mhm.
underneath the sleepers. Everything about that, the shape of the stones,
Okay.
the size of the stones,
Mhm.
how well it's compacted,
Right.
all of that affects the track stability.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
How it's like these little details.
I know, it's wild, right?
Yeah.
It all adds up.
It really does.
It's like that saying,
What's that saying?
you know,
A chain is only as strong.
Strong as its weakest link.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's what it's like.
Wow.
Each component affects the others.
Right.
Like even the spacing between the sleepers
Okay.
can change things.
Really?
You'd think, like,
Wider spacing would be bad?
yeah, wider spacing equals less stable.
Right.
But actually closer spacing
Okay.
can actually increase the resistance.
Even though they're closer together.
Yeah, because it's more about,
How those forces are distributed.
oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah. It's kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
And that leads us to another thing.
No.
You might not expect.
What's that?
Maintenance.
Okay.
You'd think fresh maintenance would be good.
Good for everything.
Right.
Make it nice and fresh.
Yeah. Keep things running in tip-top shape.
Well,
What?
it can actually reduce the transverse resistance.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah, temporarily.
So it's almost like saying, like,
It's like,
a brand new car is more likely to break down.
kinda, yeah.
Why is that?
It's all about the ballast compaction.
Okay.
Remember how we were talking about those
Yeah.
stones needing to be tightly packed?
Yeah.
Well, when it's freshly maintained,
Right?
it's loose.
Oh, okay.
It needs time to settle.
And it needs the weight
Mhm.
of the trains going over it.
So it needs to be broken in, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, based
The
on
track needs to be broken
it's
in.
like a new pair of shoes.
Wow.
You got to wear them in a little bit.
To get them to that perfect
Exactly.
level of comfort.
Exactly.
Wow, and how much?
This document was saying something like 2 million tons.
2 million tons of
with
what?
train traffic.
Just to get it back to where it needs to be.
To get that transverse resistance
That's how you've done maintenance.
back up to where it should be.
Wow, so they're constantly having to maintain this thing.
a constant battle.
It's like a living, breathing
Right.
organism almost.
It totally is.
Wow.
It's wild.
So we've got wind, we've got speed,
Yep.
track geometry friction,
Don't forget weight distribution.
weight distribution.
Yeah.
The sleepers,
Ballast.
the ballast compaction.
Yeah.
How do they even like measure?
A lot to keep track of.
Yeah. How do they measure the risk of derailment?
Well, they've got these formulas,
Okay.
complex formulas,
Of course.
that take all of this stuff into account.
So it's not just somebody out there with their,
No, it's not just like a gut feeling.
yeah, with their finger in the air like,
Nope.
I think this track's good.
Nope. They're looking at the train's weight.
Okay.
They're looking at the speed. They're looking at the track geometry.
Yeah.
They're factoring in wind conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Even something called the wheel rail friction coefficient.
The wheel rail friction coefficient.
Yeah.
What is that?
So that's basically
Okay.
how much grip the wheel has on the track.
Okay.
And that can change based on all kinds of things.
Like what?
Like rain,
Okay.
ice,
Right.
even how well the rails are lubricated.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they really have thought of everything.
They tried to.
Because, I mean, when you're dealing with
Right.
that kind of weight, that kind of force.
Massive forces.
Yeah.
It's serious business.
Yeah, like those little details can make or break you.
Absolutely.
Right.
And it's not just about like
Okay.
a fixed point in time either.
Right.
They have to account for what are called
Okay.
dynamic loads.
Dynamic loads. What's a
Yeah.
dynamic load?
So those are like, think of it like bumps and vibrations
Okay.
that happen when the train's in motion.
Right.
Those create like these momentary force that can really mess with the stability.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's not just about
So it's like this constantly changing
this constantly moving.
equation that they're trying to solve.
Yeah.
Wow. It's crazy.
So you can't just build a strong track.
Nope.
You have to understand how everything interacts
You got it.
to make it work.
Yep.
That's fascinating.
Especially as trains just keep getting
Right, because they're only getting faster,
faster.
heavier,
They've
going
been
through tougher environments.
Yeah. Pushing the limits.
Right, exactly.
That's really impressive.
So what does this mean then
What do you mean?
for the future of train travel?
Ah,
I mean, are like
good question.
high-speed rail dreams,
Yeah.
are they done?
Are they over? No.
Huh.
Not at all.
Okay.
It just means we need like,
Even more ingenuity from the engineers, and that's already happening.
okay.
Like this document really highlights the awesome work they're doing
Right.
to like figure out these risks
Yeah.
and then stop them from happening.
It's like they're always,
One step ahead.
it's like a puzzle.
Right.
A giant moving puzzle
Yeah.
that they're always putting together.
And they're figuring out how to solve it as it's moving.
Exactly.
So it's like more research,
Yeah.
more innovation.
Yeah. You got it.
That's what keeps things going.
Definitely like complacency.
Right.
That's not good.
You can't just be like, oh, we figured it out.
Right.
Because it's always changing.
Exactly. As trains keep getting faster,
right,
you got to get smarter.
Yeah, to keep up.
Exactly.
This has been awesome. Yeah.
I always thought trains were cool, but I never
cool to think about.
Really thought about this part of it.
I know, it's like a whole hidden world.
Right. And like the fact that
we never see.
We've been able to use these to get all over the place. It's pretty amazing.
And it's really incredible what we can do.
Yeah, it really is.
We put our minds to it.
Next time I see a train, I'll be like, whoa.
I know, me too.
Thinking about all this stuff.
All those invisible forces.
Yeah.
Everything's got to be perfect.
Yeah.
For it to work.
For it to work, right?
Exactly.
It's a delicate balance.
It really is.
It really is.
It really is.
Well, this has been an amazing
This was fun.
Journey into the world of train physics.
Yeah, who knew?
Right.
It could be so interesting.
I know. So we talked about the wind.
We talked about the tracks.
The tracks.
Those crazy formulas.
The formulas, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I could...
You'd ace a test.
Pass a test on this now.
For sure.
And that is what we are all about.
What we love to do.
Here at The Deep Dive.
Getting those brains working.
Thanks for joining us on this wild ride.
Appreciate it.
And until next time, keep those wheels turning.
Yeah.